welcome to Take Off, the podcast series from Aviation360 magazine. We have with us Jouhayna Al Mheiri, Air Traffic Control Officer, who will share with us her views and experience in the aviation industry. Welcome, Jouhayna.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So how did your interest in the aviation industry begin, and particularly air traffic control?
So to be completely honest, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do when I finished high school. And I made the decision to take a gap year to really do some soul searching and make that decision. And about a couple of months into that gap year, I still couldn't figure out what it is exactly that I wanted to do. So to give myself a chance, I decided to let the universe decide. But I gave myself as many opportunities as I could. So I applied to every scholarship program I could find. Specifically, I wanted a scholarship program so I could be independent and not rely on my parents. So air traffic control was also one of the options. And I remember when I saw the process and was applying to the program, I remember thinking that this is something I could see myself doing. But I put it in the back of my mind and continued moving forward. I then ended up getting the email to invite me to do the selection process. So it consisted of examinations and an interview as well as a psychometric exam. So the interest was there. I gave myself the best shot that I possibly could by doing the best that I could in the selection process, and I made it into the program. So that was the one that I ended up completing the selection process and successfully made it through, and I decided to follow through with that.
Great. So what does a basic job profile of an ATC involve, and what's your role as an air traffic control officer?
So there are three types of air traffic control. There's the tower, which everybody knows. I'm sure when you travel, you see it. So that's the tower. Tower air traffic controllers work with all the aircraft that are literally touching the ground and about to land and about to take off. Then on top of that, vertically on top, there's an approach control unit. So those aircrafts are lined up by air traffic controllers. So imagine, those snake lines in the airport, those long lines. So these air traffic controllers are working to make sure that all the aircraft are lined up appropriately to be able to go down to the tower and land and park. So those are approach controllers. And then on top of that, vertically, there are area control officers, where we work with overflying aircraft that overfly certain airspace. For me specifically, it would be United Arab Emirates airspace. So any aircraft that's going to start its initial descent into landing in the United Arab Emirates, regardless of which airport, has to work with me. So if anybody tuning in has ever had to hold, I'm the person responsible, or one of the few. And after the aircraft has completed its initial departure and needs to get a higher altitude to continue going towards its destination, we speak to those aircraft as well. So initial descent, the continuous climb, and any aircraft overflying the country is aircraft that I would work in an area control center.
How much did you have to hone yourself to fit into this role?
I had to hone myself a lot. I was 19 when I got recruited, which is the youngest age you could get recruited. Yeah, specifically in this facility. So I've completed my air traffic training approximately 2.5 years in. So I was 21 when I finished my training. Even if you Google how difficult air traffic control training is, Google doesn't even try to sugarcoat it. It's known to be one of the most stressful jobs in the world. And the training program around the world is very difficult. And the United Arab Emirates airspace is busy and one of the most complex airspaces in the world to accommodate the demand that we have for people wanting to visit the country and overfly our airspace. I had to hone myself a lot because I got recruited at 19, as I mentioned, and then after that I had my training split between Abu Dhabi and the United Kingdom. We studied in Cheltenham. So in order for me to focus, my smartphone would always distract me, no matter what. So I actually have this little Nokia. My only happy place was to play Snake, and that was it. And it was how much I had to hone myself and what I needed to do in order for me to focus on this stressful training and be able to succeed in this job, because not everybody can actually make it in this field. The fail rate is much higher than the success rate.
Okay, so what's the best thing about your job? And would you like to share any experience?
The best thing about the job, if I'm going to be completely honest, is the money. I have 3 dogs to take care of. But outside of that, you know, the job in itself is never boring. No 2 days are the same. I've been in the industry for almost a decade now, and every time I go in, there's something new that I learn. So I absolutely love that, being a lifelong learner. And I'm also an on-the-job training instructor, so I am training the next generation of air traffic controllers. And we're not working in a simulated environment, it's live traffic, which is quite challenging to teach somebody, but I love it because, you know, I love to educate people, and I've always been like that big sister at home and at work as well, so I'm happy to do that.
What might have been the challenges that you faced during these 10 years on the job, I mean?
So I feel the challenges of the job, after doing it for as long as I have, are things that are out of my control. So at the end of the day, the job title is air traffic control. So anything out of my control is what stresses me out. So it would be, for example, I have to speak to pilots every single day in order to tell them where to fly, what speed to fly, what altitude to climb or descend to. So there are times when it can get quite busy, the frequency, and it takes time for the pilots to respond, which is completely natural, but it's out of my control. I would love for that to be quicker, so that would stress me out. And that would be a challenge, I suppose, on a day-to-day basis.
In your view, how can youngsters sharpen their skill sets to do their best on the job?
So I can speak from my experience.
Yeah.
I remember when I did the selection process and I was looking up everything online about air traffic control, there wasn't a lot of information for people that had no idea what it was. So what I have done is I've actually created my social media profiles to be educational about air traffic control for people who want to join, and for anybody who's interested in aviation to test their knowledge, because I put daily trivia. But to go back to the types of skills that you would require, the tests test you on the skills you already have. So they would test you on reaction time, they would test you on critical thinking, and these are the things that they want to find out about you. So the only thing you can really do is just go into the tests fully prepared and be yourself. The skills needed would be to be able to concentrate for a long period of time, the ability to make decisions. You need to have the ability to visualize in 2D and 3D. So, you know, when you're driving around, everything is in 2D, so you can see exactly what is going on. However, in air traffic control, you need to think in 3D because there are certain altitudes. Right. So there's a lot to factor in, and usually all these skills you need to apply simultaneously, including multitasking. So quite literally, you have to be able to multitask all of these skills in order to do the job. You also need to be able to adapt to change easily. You know, you have certain procedures that are set, right? Everybody has certain rules they must follow. Right. However, with air traffic control, in order to accommodate different types of air traffic, rules change all the time. So you need to be able to adapt to those rules changing. As an example, you're going to be working shifts. Right. If you can't adapt your sleep schedule, you won't be able to go to work. And if you go to work distracted, you could impact thousands of lives. So you need to be able to handle that. And also, I don't want to sugarcoat how stressful the job is. So to put it into perspective, when a surgeon goes to work, I think we can both agree that they have a very stressful job. However, air traffic control, we impact hundreds of thousands of lives at any given moment in time. When a surgeon works, they impact one life at a time. We operate thousands of aircrafts per shift. That is probably more lives we're impacting than a surgeon would impact in their entire career in one shift. So the responsibility is extremely great. Imagine playing a video game with no game over option, and the stakes are human life. So it's an extremely responsible job to have, and I feel like the responsibility is probably one of the main factors as to why people struggle to make it through. The training also is quite stressful, so you have to mentally prepare, get yourself a Nokia. Snake is going to be your best friend if you need a moment to take a mental break. Yeah, it is a tough job, but it's definitely worthwhile. You know, I personally grew to love the job over time. When I was a trainee, it was quite difficult, but then when I got the hang of it during the last year of my training, after I did all the theory and I got put into doing the live traffic, that's when I was like, wow, I love this, because finally I'm in the field doing what it is that I was trained to do for such a long period of time. So it's definitely worthwhile, great career to have. Speaking from a standpoint as a female, you know, I took on this job to support my mother and my 2 younger sisters. So the money is good. Speaking from a personal standpoint, it has enabled me to take care of the dependents I have, my mother and my 2 younger sisters. The time off is great. So for every 2 days you work, you legally have to get 1 day off, and that doesn't include annual leave. So the time off is amazing. I've been able to travel the world and experience so many things because of this job. It's empowered me in so many ways, and the job satisfaction is very high. So I go to work knowing that I've impacted thousands of lives and they don't even know it, but that's okay.
What do you envision for the future of the aviation industry?
I feel automation will definitely come up, and specifically for air traffic control, I feel like automation will take a very long time to reach there, because we make so many decisions on a day-to-day basis on how aircraft are supposed to fly. We tell them what speed to fly, what altitude to climb or descend to, which flight path to follow and direction to turn in. So for me personally, what I'm excited about are the tools that artificial intelligence will give air traffic controllers in order for us to make decisions to handle more aircraft as a supplementary tool. That's what I'm excited for.
Great. So would you like to add anything else?
If you're interested in air traffic control, join, but it's not going to be easy. Follow my Instagram to learn more.
Sure. Thank you, Jouhayna, for your time and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to our viewers, stay tuned for the next episode of Take On.